Hello, thank you for joining me for video 4, the last of my 4-part bioenergy series. I said in video 1, energy is known to be the breath of life, and the amazing discoveries now being made in neuroscience are showing us the incredible miracles constantly happening inside our own bodies as a result of this breath of life. There's no question that research will continue at a very fast pace, because within the mysteries of the human body lie untold discoveries, just waiting to be found. What I've had the opportunity to share with you and what you've learned during these 4 video sessions is only the beginning of a very exciting journey. Bioenergy and brain-based wellness care will go well beyond our lifetimes. I'm convinced it will be mainstream in the very near future. It will resolve health issues and promises to sustain healthy life for millions of people. No question, brain-based wellness care is here to stay as long as there is human life. Scientifically, Candace Pert advanced it all in the 70s with her landmark, award-winning research at Georgetown University Medical Center. Her discovery of the opiate receptor started a revolution that would later create profound shifts within nearly every field of modern medicine. It would ultimately unite immunology, endocrinology, neurophysiology, psychology, and biology into a cohesive theory about how our thoughts and our emotions are capable of creating wellness or disease in our bodies. It explained and validated what Eastern healing traditions and shamans and energy healers and most alternative practitioners have known for years. Recently, a professor at the Department of Physiology and Biophysics at Georgetown University School of Medicine said in an article at healingcancer.com, and I quote, "Our immune systems can learn and respond." He reminds us what Pert said, that neuroscience has now proven that immune cells can be conditioned to respond to stimuli, much like Pavlov's dogs were conditioned to salivate at the sound of a bell. Psychologist Robert Ader at the University of Rochester School of Medicine gave laboratory rats an immune-suppressing drug flavored with sweet-tasting saccharin. Eventually, the rats became so conditioned to the effects that giving them only the saccharin and no drug at all caused their immune systems to become depressed. At the unconscious and autonomic levels, in response, before her death, Pert stated the following: "We know that the immune system, like the central nervous system, has memory and the capacity to learn. Thus, it could be said that intelligence is located not only in the brain, but in the cells that are distributed throughout our entire body, and that the traditional separation of mental processes, including emotions, from our body is no longer valid." Later, in pivotal studies at the Case Western Reserve University in Ohio, scientist Howard Hall proved that the immune system could also be conditioned consciously using self-regulatory practices such as hypnosis, biofeedback, guided imagery, relaxation, and autogenic training. And professionally, for me, it's remarkable to have this privilege to be able to pioneer bioenergy, because renowned researchers are, time and again, demonstrating the connection of external stimuli to neuronal chain of events in the cortex of our brains, which in turn influences health and healing throughout the entire body. Once my years of study of the latest neuroscience brought me to a place where everything started to make sense to me, and my clarity within human physiology kicked in, it seemed obvious. Once the light went on in my own brain and I experienced bioenergy's effectiveness on person after person, the pieces fell together. And I moved forward in developing bioenergy, the bioenergy certification course, and the bioregulator instrument. May sound like a lot of work, but it was worth every minute. Ask any number of people. The same professor at Georgetown University School of Medicine said, when referring to the importance of both negative and positive emotions, I quote, To repress these emotions and not let them flow freely is to set up a disintegrity in our system, causing it to act at cross purposes rather than as a unified whole. The stress this creates, which takes a form of blockages and insufficient flow of peptide signals to maintain function on a cellular level, is what sets up the weakened conditions that can lead to disease. I love my work, but it's my colleagues' support and proven theories and my practice members' real-life stories that motivates me to move forward. It's been quite a trip, but so are the results of bioenergy. It neutralizes the stress which causes blockages to the flow of peptide signals and neurochemicals. Dr. Roger Callahan, PhD with frustration over traditional techniques, in 1979 pioneered a blend of psychotherapy and tapping. And he developed a set of algorithms and tapping sequences which helped his patients have incredible changes in very short periods of time, versus months and years of psychotherapy with often very disappointing results. Gary Craig, a student of his, went on to create what we know today as emotional freedom technique, also known as EFT. It speaks for itself through thousands upon thousands of people worldwide who use this amazing technique with incredible results. And it works. Nick Ortner, who wrote this incredible book called The Tapping Solution, says, what tapping does with amazing efficiency is halt the fight or flight response and reprogram the brain and body to react differently. Tapping seems to turn off the amygdala's alarm, deactivating the brain's arousal pathways. Tapping on the meridian endpoints sends a calming response to the body. Some things take time, we know that, but previous puzzling facts have become very clear to me. Bioenergy's effectiveness in restoring the body's capacity to heal has become glaringly apparent, a wonderful truth since I've applied it in practice. The best thing about learning bioenergy, super tapping, is its profound simplicity. It doesn't require sequential tapping on meridian endpoints away from the brain. It's super tapping solely on the suboccipital triangle covering the brainstem. Once trained to assess and correct the flow of life energy for those we serve, the benefits become very apparent very quickly. I want to thank you again for tuning into this video, because I know you're busy, and I know how important it is to invest your time and money wisely. You don't have the time to learn a difficult system with the hope that down the road you may see great changes. You and the people you care for want real change and want positive health results and want it as soon as possible. Bioenergy, also known as super tapping, promises to deliver this and much, much more. It doesn't get much better than being involved with improving a person's well-being. I feel so many of us have come full circle honoring the timeless healing principles as we evolve into the practice of bioenergy. We're honoring both the intuitive and the neuroscience DD and BJ knew and understood, but didn't have the science to prove it in their lifetimes. When health improves for those we serve, it's a priceless reward. With bioenergy, you're going to see people begin to feel better than they have in years, and it's becoming more explainable due to the incredible research being done every day. Best of all is the hope you inspire and see in the eyes and hear in the voices of those you serve, knowing they can actually continue to get better, living a very healthy, fulfilling, happier life. Suddenly, the mind believes and begins to trust the self-healing the body's capable of. It's a transition for a lot of people in our modern culture who have relied solely on prescriptions and surgery as their first choice. For me, as a doctor of chiropractic for decades, and one who's trained in a whole variety of Eastern practices throughout my entire career, suddenly it was there in black and white, right in front of me. Brain-based wellness care through my practice of bioenergy. That was the answer. It's what BJ Palmer said decades ago. I wish I could have been able to develop bioenergy earlier in my own career, because now it's so obvious to me and so many others that objective proof has become available through technology. But before science could prove cause and effect, it's not hard to see why so many people remain skeptical. Dr. David Feinstein, PhD, in his article, Acupoint Stimulation in Treating Psychological Disorders, Evidence of Efficacy, states, and I quote, "Energy psychology is a clinical and self-help modality that combines verbal and physical procedures for effecting therapeutic change, while utilizing established clinical methods such as exposure and cognitive restructuring. The approach also incorporates concepts and techniques from non-Western healing systems. Its most frequently utilized protocols combine the stimulation of acupuncture points by tapping on or holding or massaging them with the mental activation of a targeted psychological issue. Variations of Dr. Callahan's original protocols have subsequently been introduced under the umbrella term energy psychology," end quote. Now, I promise that bioenergy is a variation of Callahan's original protocols and might be considered part of energy medicine or psychology, which wakes us up to a world of possibilities for body and mind health and wellness for ourselves and for those we serve. We now have a way, using super tapping along with verbalizing of negative and positive emotions, to figure out not only what's hurting us, but how to correct it on a cellular level. Within the universe and within the body's perfect design, we know our body was designed to be self-healing and self-regulating. Humanity has known this for a very, very long time. But in this place and time, I've been blessed with an opportunity to develop bioenergy. I get to intercede, so to speak, for the good it can bring to humanity. And it's my privilege to pass this on to you. To influence the health and wellness of potentially millions of people, I can only do my part, and you can do yours. But together, that grows into a health and life changer for many, many people working together. We can only imagine how this will shift the paradigm. Now, these days, a scientific discovery is usually followed soon after by some type of technical application and vice versa. With the use of Dr. Richard Barwell's neuroinfinity technology and the huge amount of nervous system information it provides, I began bioenergy and evolving it into more than a theory, but a practice. Through brain-based wellness care, these amazing results people receive when they have bioenergy can now be proven over and over again, along with an understanding of the latest current neuroscience and research results. The effect of chronic stress in the body and mind is so well documented as a leading contributing factor in the onset of dis-ease. We must fully accept and understand the stress response as the catalyst of all imbalance and distress within the nervous system, the body, and the mind. What is a stress response? This whole video and the need for bioenergy revolves around understanding the stress response. Now, this is Dr. Richard Barwell's excellent explanation. He said, "All living creatures have an awareness of a threat to their existence. Humans have a built-in warning system that alerts them to all levels of threats. Our five senses alert us to danger even when we're totally unaware of it. Bad smells, unusual sounds, foul tastes are just some of these warning systems. The subconscious is even more sensitive and often triggers a protection response which we're unaware of consciously, such as an increase in blood pressure or heart rate or respiration. We know the nervous system is divided into two main divisions. One division keeps everything running smoothly and in balance, and the other is for defense and protection. It doesn't care about balance. Its only purpose is being able to offer extreme responses to preserve life. Now, the first division is called the parasympathetic, and the second system is called the sympathetic. Both are branches of the autonomic nervous system. Stress is a threat, And even low levels of stress over time can have drastic results in the health of an individual. What many people don't understand is that stress is a response to a stressor. And throughout our lifetime, we'll always be confronting stressors. The challenge lies in several areas: the intensity of the stressor, the duration of the stressor, the level of previous damage done to the stress response system, and the ability of our system to return to a normal, balanced state. Dr. Barwell goes on to explain, and I quote, "Current medical research is now claiming that 95% of all illnesses are the result of a lack of the body's ability to reestablish normal balance. It only makes sense that we learn what must be done to bring the body back into correct neurological responses. It's critical for good health to have a nervous system which can adapt to stressors and recover correctly. And then it only makes sense that we have a method which has the ability to measure these action reactions. It's so much easier to keep our system in balance than to attempt to correct it once it's already been damaged." Stress is the culprit. Stress is a chronic condition, and stress is ruining our health. Unfortunately, many of us have gotten used to stress stalking us. It may not literally be a tiger, but our body thinks it is. Being in an unrelaxed state all the time, a state of stress, feels normal. We've grown to feel it's normal if we're going to succeed in our life. Modern society is addicted to stress. Without it, we don't even think. Along with 99% of the other people, feel that we're doing anything enough, or being enough, or we're enough, accomplishing enough. You would feel lazy. That is the lie of the addiction of our society has to stress. Maybe we don't have tigers chasing us, which is why the amygdala in the brain was created or put there in the first place, to preserve and save our lives in times of threat or danger. But we have to realize our amygdala senses danger all the time because our desire to keep up our insane pace causes chronic stress to our body and our mind, negatively impacting our long-term health and our goal to be well in our body and mind. It's a vicious, debilitating, damaging cycle most people are completely unaware of. I think it's our responsibility to teach them what they need to know to survive. What's the bioenergy correction? How does bioenergy interrupt the chronic stress cycle to help the body create wellness, repair us, restore us, and heal us from above down, inside out? For the past 5 years, I've studied and applied bioenergy, which inspires the body's own self-healing properties. Nothing is more important in wellness care, no matter what the methodology or the intervention, than to enhance the body's innate ability to heal itself. This wisdom is always striving to heal us and regulate us so it can achieve maximum potential for good health. Bioenergy neutralizes the chronic stress and processes it so that its destructive physiology in our body is gone. I hear people say it changed my life nearly every day in my wellness center. One example: a diabetic practice member of mine who was thrilled when his blood work with his MD became radically better than it had ever been. And they asked him, "What are you doing? We want to know." He told them about bioenergy. His health story is one we all celebrate because it's substantiated not only by how he feels subjectively, but objectively and scientifically proven through the results of his ongoing blood work. We laugh with people at the Wellness Center when they come in and saying, "The doctor said it's all in my head." We tell them that's a good thing because bioenergy is brain-based wellness care. Everything is controlled by our brain. It's all in our head. What's amazing about bioenergy is how it combines the ancient wisdom of acupressure's meridian point therapy combined with Ayurvedic medicine, which is also 5,000 years old, chiropractic, massage therapy, and energy medicine, all explained by current neuroscience. Bioenergy reduces the negative effects of stress on so many different physical and emotional levels. It provides the greatest opportunity for healing our body and our mind. It's like taking our brain to the spa. It's bioenergy's ability to access the amygdala, that almond-shaped part of our brain, which initiates our body's negative reaction to fear, a process we refer to as the fight or flight response that makes it so powerful. It's the amygdala in our brain, always on alert, that elevates caustic hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, which weaken and deplete us and our body's natural resources. Joseph Ledoux is a professor of science at NYU in the Center for Neuroscience, and he directs the Emotional Brain Institute of NYU and the Nathan Klein Institute. He's won numerous awards on his work that's focused on the brain mechanisms. He's also the author of The Emotional Brain and another book called The Synaptic Self. He says in his writing and speaking that neuroscience has determined that the amygdala is where the stress response begins. Even though the amygdala is most commonly associated with fear, fear is not its only function, but it's the most heavily studied function. So all the other emotions and negative experiences, limited beliefs, anger, etc., all come from the amygdala as well. To what other structures is the amygdala connected? Dr. Joseph Ledoux goes on to say, and I quote, because I want you to hear this once again, the function of the amygdala is the focus. He says, quote, some of the key interconnections of the amygdala, and these connections actually define what it does in a sense, at least with respect to fear. The amygdala gets sensory information directly from the various sensory systems that process the external world. This explains how the sensory information generated by bioenergy percussions on our suboccipital muscles stimulates our mechanoreceptors, directing electrical impulses to our somatosensory cortex, or our higher brain centers. It's exactly what Dr. Ledoux is saying. So the visual system and the auditory system all converge on the amygdala at one time, which explains how the amygdala is interconnected with all the life support systems involved in our emotional reacting. So when you encounter sudden danger, you might freeze. Your blood pressure and heart rate will increase rapidly. Stress hormones are released. All these things happen automatically as a result of outputs from the amygdala. Joseph Ledoux tells us that you can think of the amygdala as this circle, with one input coming in being a flow of sensory information from the external world. Then outputs being the connections to systems within the body involved in controlling these responses. The amygdala is oftentimes called the body's smoke detector for that reason. It immediately responds in high alert to any trouble or danger. So if we're about to step off a cliff or in front of a bus, it gives us a warning signal, and it causes us to instinctively respond and pull ourselves back to safety even before we're consciously aware of it. Or if we find ourselves suddenly unsafe from an attack or any number of reasons, the amygdala responds the same way. It kicks in the body's fight or flight response, which sets a whole chain of physiological events in motion, which energize the body to fight or to take flight and run away. The amygdala in our brain signals and mobilizes the body into this fight or flight response. This is also the problem, besides saving our lives. Think of your day. Think of your family or the people you saw today. The brain's always mobilized. Everyone you know, including yourself, is bombarded with stress, all kinds of stress. We have too much work, or we have a lack of work. We have family issues, kids and elderly parents with problems, fear real and imagined, chemicals in our air and food, cell phones, Wi-Fi, technology, driving, traffic. That's a short list. Stress is coming at most of us full force all the time. And we know it's true. You can't just tune out or turn off life. We tried that in the 60s, it didn't work. But through brain-based wellness care with regular bioenergy, you can neutralize the internal stress that's destroying you and your family and the people in your life who you care about. It's needed, and it's time to move forward with brain-based care. I urge you, Don't ignore this. Google stress response research and see for yourself. You want more evidence? Nick Ortner acknowledges the following in The Tapping Solution, this incredible book he wrote. And I'm in complete agreement with him about manual tapping. However, bioenergy super tapping, in my opinion, just takes tapping to the next level. It offers an enhanced method of tapping, continuity, and effectiveness. Research at Harvard Medical School over the past decade has shown that stimulation of selected endpoints decreases activity in the amygdala, the hippocampus, another part of the limbic system, and other parts of the brain associated with fear, anxiety, anger, etc. In PET brain scans, you can clearly see the amygdala's red alert being called off when these endpoints are stimulated. This is very exciting, and it's cutting-edge brain research. Now, while the Harvard studies focused on acupuncture needles, a double-blind study comparing the penetration by the acupuncture needles with percussions or tapping without needles on the meridian points, which is similar to bioenergy, found similar improvements with either method. Informal studies have shown that bioenergy, percussion, in fact, works better than needles in the treatment of anxiety and fear and other disorders. Another study confirms the Harvard findings. In this case, researcher Dawson Church, PhD, looked at a different component of the fight or flight reaction. He looked at cortisol levels. And like adrenaline, cortisol is a stress hormone, but it can be very caustic when it remains in our bodies a long time. And the answer to bringing calmness to the body is bioenergy. Even though I endorse and I've practiced all the above mentioned techniques and methods, bioenergy is a super tapping, one that brings results like I've never experienced in my life. Maybe because of the connection it has straight to the cortex, but some of it you have to actually see it to believe it. And thanks to current neuroscience, the objective explanations are right at our fingertips. Now, in bullet points here are some quick facts about bioenergy. Bioenergy is built from the blueprint of our body, an amazing machine. Bioenergy enhances our body-mind processes and restores and resets, reboots, and recharges our brains. Our brain is made up of approximately 100 billion nerve cells called neurons. Neurons have the amazing ability to gather and transmit electrochemical signals. Think of neurons as the gates and wires inside a computer, of which bioenergy directly connects or has a live link to. Bioenergy transmits these electrochemical nutrients which neurons receive to enhance every other organ and life support system in the body. Bioenergy is for everyone, regardless of their health issues, because it corrects interference in the flow of life force energy, which promotes self-healing and self-regulating in everyone to its maximum potential. Bioenergy helps the body neutralize and calm the effects of chronic stress, which silently destroys our health. Bioenergy profoundly improves brain function through gentle vibratory motion applied to the suboccipital muscles. Bioenergy unlocks the body's vital life force energy, enabling relaxation of the sympathetic nervous system and fight or flight response. Bioenergy increases electrical nutrients in our brain, which transfer to all the other organs and body systems. Bioenergy enhances wellness in our body and mind as it rests in homeostasis. Developing bioenergy has been the highlight of my career. I definitely have learned a whole new way of practice through the study and research of brain-based wellness care. It's like Harry S. Truman said, it's what you learn after you know it all that counts. Are you ready? Are you listening? Do you want to be trained so that you're more in tune with the subtle, the intuitive? Are you paying attention to universal wisdom, which is supremely supportive of all life? I hope so, because this wisdom exists outside of our bodies and within our bodies at the same time. This is the gold standard of health and wellness, a nervous system that's balanced, as intended by design. But these days in our modern society, to keep our nervous system in balance, it needs our assistance. So do those we love and care for. Since we would rather care for a person before they have a disease, bioenergy is perfect. It's brain-based wellness care for the person who wants real health. I encourage you not to delay your training in bioenergy. The health of your body and mind is the most important thing you have. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family and for the people you love and care about. If you choose to become certified in bioenergy, I'll teach you how to develop a superior tactile sense and your intuitive sense. You'll learn how to evaluate and correct an individual who has blocked energy channels. Today, scientific research is discovering all the ways lifestyle choices and healthy practices stimulate activity and repair neurons. What we once believed impossible is now possible. Results are accomplished by clearing out these blocked areas, maximizing the energy flow, making way for your brain to do what it's designed to do. Increase the neuron activity, which results in improving the life force in the rest of our bodies and our minds. Stanford researcher Dr. Bruce Lipton says the nervous system is dangerously stressed when it can no longer move freely between brainwave frequencies. It becomes stuck in a frequency, and the brain waves are no longer able to adapt to an increase in stress, or worse, they can't return to a state of equilibrium or balance. The neurophysiology of the body is out of balance. This is a wake-up call that's worth responding to. Doctors tell me brain-based wellness care is changing their life, and their love and passion for healing is being reignited. To learn more about becoming a WCA certified bioenergy practitioner offering brain-based wellness care, check out our online training. Further information is available at www.bioenergycertification.com or by clicking on the link on this page.